Star Trek has been quite divisive of late. It's released some episodes that people have loved and others that people have hated. But actually, is that a good thing? Welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So I have not hidden the fact that I have not actually enjoyed the musical episode of Star Trek. I hated it in bits. The boy band Klingon thing, I could not stand that moment in that episode. It really actually made me physically angry. On the whole, though, I thought the episode was okay. I liked a couple of the songs. I liked that they at least tried to make it sci-fi by having a scientific explanation for what was happening. I think the reason they gave was kind of a nonsense, but they tried. So that's the main thing. So it got me thinking, though, particularly after speaking to Mark Cartier on the Shuttlepod show last night, is it actually a good thing or a bad thing? Because what is the alternative to Star Trek making bold, risky decisions like this? Well, the alternative is we get bland, boring, safe science fiction, where they don't try to do anything too risky. And surely nobody wants that. So I'm wondering whether it is actually a good thing that Star Trek was brave enough to do things like a musical. Now, I will still argue, and I'm not going to change my mind on this, that this season of Strange New Worlds has maybe been a little bit too much risk and a little bit too much, crazy antics rather than actually Star Trek. I do wonder if the final episode is going to be a surprise double episode, maybe. We'll know in a couple of days, so by the time you've watched this, you might already know. But it just seems really odd to me that they've done episode 9 of this season as this risky musical episode when they've still then got to do the finale. I'd have thought the musical would have made more sense as maybe like a bonus episode 11, or like I keep saying like this as a Christmas special or something. I would have thought that made more sense. But maybe the finale will be 2 hours because then actually everyone's happy. Because I do think that this episode 9 should have been a build up to the big finale episode. And obviously it hasn't been. They do seem to be trying to do a different Star Trek series for different demographics or different groups of Star Trek fans. We have Strange New Worlds, which is a bit more fun, a bit cheekier. You get a lot of episodes like this with a bit of fun in them, a lot of risks. We have Discovery, which is way more drama, a lot of action, very serious. We get Lower Decks, which is a love letter to TNG fans, but also fans that enjoy a bit more humour. And there's still plenty of canon in there. And we obviously had Prodigy. There was a lot of canon stuff going on in there. We saw the end of the Enterprise E, for example, but obviously it was aimed more at a younger audience. So they do seem to be trying to keep everyone happy as a rule with Star Trek. Now, by having lots of different shows going on at once, they can do that. The risk is, though, that if you only have 1 or 2 shows, that you try and keep everybody happy within that show. And the only way to do that is to not take those risks. Now, I would argue that when they took the decision to do the musical, they must have known this was going to be divisive. They must have known it was going to upset people, and they did it anyway. I'm wondering if that's one of the problems with Marvel at the moment. They're so worried about upsetting certain aspects of the fandom that they're just not taking those risks. Now, obviously, at the moment, Hollywood has a lot of things to deal with the strikes, etc. But also it had major scandals with sort of like the Me Too movement. It has been horribly sexist and horribly racist for pretty much its entire existence. And it is trying to figure out how to resolve those problems. Entertainment is there just to entertain us in lots of ways, but it is also a mirror of society. Always has been and always will be. So in that respect, our entertainment has to try and grapple with these problems. Marvel has tried to do that in one way by just being very inclusive. But by doing that, it's been very careful not to offend anyone in the process. And by doing that, it's offended a lot of people. Because the people that shout woke at things, now I don't agree with them probably 70 or 80% of the time. But sometimes they do have a point. TV shows are so desperate to include every demographic, to talk about sexism, racism, the LGBTQ plus communities issues as much as humanly possible and include all of it in their TV shows and movies, that they tend to forget the story a little bit. And that is frustrating. When an agenda overtakes good storytelling, there is a problem. And the woke community, the people that shout woke at all these things, are just getting more and more angry about that. Now, this community that is shouting woke at everything, unfortunately as well, they do have a large proportion of bigots within them. That I get comments from people all the time, and they're very thoughtful, sensible people saying, look, I'm not a racist, I'm not a sexist, I'm not an anythingist. I just want my TV to actually focus on the story rather than all these agendas. I have other people commenting that have agendas themselves. Unfortunately, they are racist, they are sexist. They might try to hide their bigotry behind certain words, and they can really hide behind the woke agenda to hide their bigotry, but they still are bigots. And while they are shouting as loudly as the rest, unfortunately, the sensible voices, the people that actually do appreciate that there is a problem in Hollywood that needs solving, are going to get drowned out. So the way to deal with this, the way to solve the problem, is to have TV show creators and movie directors, etc., that are willing to take a risk, that are willing to offend your base audience, that understand that when they do a Star Trek musical, that a lot of people are going to go, Star Trek musical, what? And freak out. This musical episode has been the most divisive thing I think I've ever seen on any Star Trek forum. People are going nuts over it. Now, people went nuts over the Lower Decks episode, but that came out so beautifully. I think the lovers outweighed the haters a little bit. But the musical really does seem to be 50-50. Now, I've already told you, I'm on the don't like it side. But that's because I don't like musicals as much as anything else. I just wanted a Star Trek episode. I don't feel it was Star Trek because it was a musical. It was a musical Star Trek episode. I just wanted Star Trek. But a lot of people have got quite angry. Now, I see loads and loads of comments on these groups saying, look, if you didn't like it, just shut up. Just don't keep commenting. I'm sick of hearing it. And I'm like, no, that's not right either. This is an open forum. We do live in a free country, in a free society where actually both opinions matter. So if you didn't like Star Trek, this episode, you have a right to say so. I have a right to say so. It doesn't mean I hate Star Trek. It means I didn't like that episode. And we can say it. But the fact that I didn't like that episode is a good thing because it means the Star Trek creators are taking risks. They're not doing a beige, bland, boring franchise or season of Star Trek. Now, I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and he says he actually hated the crossover episode. And I was just like, the Riker maneuver. And he was just like, I hated it. I hated every moment of it. It was silly. It was stupid. I didn't like it. And I was like, well, you must have absolutely detested the musical episode then. He was like, nah, loved it. Thought it was great. Proper classic Star Trek, that. It was fantastic. I loved every moment of it. Light bulb moment. I want to see that more in all of the television shows I watch. I expect to have the odd episode I really don't like. If a TV show is being brave and really trying to make exciting, interesting sci-fi, they are going to do stuff you don't like. But then they'll do something you absolutely adore. If you want exciting television, you have to take the highs with the lows. But it doesn't mean you can't moan about it when there is something you don't like. That's kind of what Twitter's for, or whatever Twitter's called now. X, I don't know. But guys, you can also get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think, because that's another place that you can safely talk about the things you like and don't like, as long as you show at least a little bit of respect to each other. So get in there and tell me exactly what you think about this idea of it being exciting television and the need to move away from bland, boring, beige television. And the fact that, yes, sometimes that means we're going to get shows we don't like so much. But it also means we're going to get some shows we adore. Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And follow all these links that have been scrolling across the bottom. They're all in the description as well, particularly the Patreon. Go on there. That really supports the channel. That allows us to keep going. And you even get a free gift after 3 months, which, hey, you can't argue with that. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.